A very good morning and welcome back. So, last time we were discussing about how you can interpret your research findings or your research data which you have collected after performing a set of experiments. And now, in order to finish our Unit 4 in your PHM 001 Research Methodology course, what we will do is we will discuss about what is known as report writing. As I also told you earlier that this particular course is going to be just an audit type theory in which you only have to write essays, express your interpretation, express what you understand by particular terminologies being used in research methodology. So this is all about after knowing or finding facts. Let me just use this pen. These facts may be newly created. You must be newly creating some new facts, or these facts can also be like an addition to the pre-existing facts. So after your experiment or your research which you have done, you got to know something or you found some facts. Okay, then you have to discuss these facts with others, and you have to discuss what you found. Okay, this can include implications, this can include applications, this can also include some protocols to perform an experiment. It can be anything. Okay, it can be a survey type of research. So you have to, after knowing and finding facts, you have to discuss it with others. Okay, and there are various different ways of discussing. The best possible way is documenting. And by documenting, what we mean is you have to actually write a report. So when you are writing a report, there are a few things which you should keep in your mind. Like, you should have at least the knowledge of the subject. So, subject knowledge on which you are working. You have already defined the problem of research, which you have actually surveyed and experimented on. So, the knowledge of subject is really important and comes as a prime first step in order to write a report. And you should have a logical as well as chronological knowledge of the subject. Logical in a way that you should know what all things and how all other things were performed by the research groups other than you previously. Chronological means in order to have a historical advancement so that you can know why some of the groups failed, why some of the groups succeeded before you. Okay. And if there is something which you can fill in by your contribution, this is what research is all about. So, the first thing is to have knowledge of the subject logically and chronologically. When you have the knowledge of the subject and you have already interpreted your data, the second thing which you are supposed to do is to outline and define a framework. Framework in a way means you have to skeletally in your mind decide how you're going to report your results. Okay, so you know the subject. In order to have a good handshake with the existing community or the research community, then you decide how you are going to what you are going to write in your research report. So we call it as outline or frameworking. Then what you can definitely do is the first two things are clear, I guess. The third thing or the third step is to make a rough draft. Okay, write it down, pen it down, write it at least. And the fourth thing after the rough draft is you will have to revise it. So there are a few revisions. You might have to rewrite it because your supervisors, your seniors might suggest some changes. And sometimes If it is really well written, you might have to just polish it in order to attract more readers, widespread readers. So when you have done this, so revision can include reperforming the experiment, reinterpreting the data, or just rephrasing the words. Okay. And after being satisfied with what you have written, you should also have a very nice understanding of bibliography. Bibliography and acknowledgement as well. This is to say and to express your gratitude to the research community, the ideas of the other people which you have actually used in your research. So you should definitely refer to them and give them credit through citations. Okay. So this is how you are going to document a research report, or we call it as a report writing. Five major steps. You should have very good knowledge of subject. The second thing is there should be, outline and framework. Then you can go with the rough drafting, revision of those draft, final draft, and then at least you should care about the bibliography and references as well. Now, there can be different type of technical reports. What you are concerned with in our research methodology course is writing technical reports. So in technical report, what you can actually write is there are different types. Like you can only provide summary. You can also tell the nature of study. What type of study have you done? Experimental, theoretical, survey type. Then also you should report methods. How have you done your experiment? You should definitely include a well interpreted data so that other can also check and cross check and validate your interpretations from the data. You should also include analysis and interpretation. Okay. And then finally, after doing nature of study, explaining the methods, data analysis and interpretation, what you should do is you should go to conclusions, which can include the future prospects, and it can also include uh, the limitations of your study. It can include the comparison of your findings with others, and then at last what you see on most of the research papers is references. Okay. So we call summary as abstracts also. Sometime it is a brief introduction of the research paper. It is like a preface, so that the reader can have a brief idea on, if he is going to invest 20 to 30 minutes in reading your paper, what exactly he is going to extract out, what exactly he is going to read, what exactly he is going to know new about and from your findings. Okay. So if in exam you are asked what are the steps, what should be included in technical report writing, so these are the few important things. So you just keep in mind, I'm very sure you must be just flipping pages of few review papers or technical papers as of now, because in master's thesis, this is really important to write synopsis and thesis. So your supervisors and allotted supervisors must have shared some technical papers with you, and you can realize that the abstract, nature study, method, data analysis and interpretation, conclusions and reference, this is what actually go as the backbone of any research paper. Okay. So this is about documenting the research. When you are transacting it with, you are having a transaction and communication with journals, those who actually document it, archive it, and keep it for lifelong. Another important, interesting way of communicating your findings with the research community is oral presentations. And these oral presentations are associated with what we called as conferences or proceedings. These are actually meetings, webinars, seminars, or symposia in which different people from different groups, different countries, different interests will come sit at the same place, and you will have an opportunity to share what you have found through your research in front of those people. And you can have really an active conversation with those. They can be very critical in their comments, but if you will work on their comments, you can improve your research quality. That is really helpful. But sometimes the only disadvantage of oral presentation is that they may be excuse me, or may not be documented well. As of now, most of the international conferences have a collaboration with a journal publications as well. Most of the time, when you will go with some proceedings type of conference or symposium, you will get it published as a proceeding paper, but not always. This is the case. So it is usually preferred that if you have a really good finding, try to communicate it to a journal first. Okay. So the only disadvantage of oral presentation is that it may or may not be documented. It can only be a 1 hour or half an hour talk, and only those people which were actually lending their ears to what you were saying, you can communicate your findings only to that particular group only. Got it? So this is all about report writing, and I guess the question which is going to be asked, which can be asked in exam, will revolve only around these few topics. Uh, Now, I would, before closing this particular recording, I would also like to include what is called as the mechanics of writing a research report. So this is going to be perhaps our last topic for today. Uh, this pen is not working good. So how do you write it? Because as a naive, as a newcomer to the field, how you will start from blank paper to a published paper. Okay, these blank white sheets to a published journal paper. How to go? So the very first thing is perform experiment by trying to solve some problems, by identifying problems, and then when you have everything like data interpretation and everything, then first of all you have to think about, you go to the journals you are interested in and look at the size or the physical design. Some journals may allow 5,000 words, some journals may allow only 1,200 words. So you have to really choose the journal accordingly. Second thing is the procedure. Okay, so some journals want that you should explicitly report the methods and protocols, and some journal only want that you should just report your findings. The third thing is the layout. And in layout, what you can refer to is what we have already discussed, like how does the technical report looks like, the abstract, nature of study, methods. Sometimes this nature of study is also known as introduction. Excuse me. Okay, then what you can do is you can go with citations and footnotes. Some journals may allow footnotes, some journals may not allow footnotes, and citations or references have different styles. So you can search on internet, and this is going to be your DHA for this particular class. What do you understand by APA, MLA, Vancouver referencing styles? So one journal can use IEEE format, the other may use APA or MLA format, but you have to accordingly cite it. Okay. Some journals may allow footnotes, some may not allow footnotes. I understand. I hope you must be knowing what footnote means. Footnote means, for example, a line is running and I put one over here, and at the bottom of this page, okay, in the margin, I write conferences, I refer to this particular thing. Okay, that means footnotes. Then you should also work on using punctuations like comma and full stop and exclamation mark. You should be really careful about it, because one full stop, the position of full stop is changing, the position of hyphen or comma is changing, the result can change a lot. Okay, you should really work on punctuations. And at last, you should also work on abbreviations. Okay, so you should not be very friendly, like using NP as nanoparticles. It can also mean something else. You may prefer using IN as India and IN as Indium as well. So when you are using abbreviations, be very careful. Some journals may not accept your abbreviations, and don't try to design a set of your own abbreviations. And in case you think that the word is really long and you need to short it down, short it down, then explicitly report that in the whole paper which is running, you are going to use this particular abbreviation for that particular word. Got it? So this is all for today's class. I think I covered most of the topics which were required to be covered in report writing. And your questions will only revolve around what we have learned today. And I will be uploading this particular video on YouTube. You can watch it and also work on your DHA, which I have given you today. Thank you so much, all of you. One more DHA from this report writing will be given, but that will be um, notified on the Google Classroom itself. Thank you so much, all of you.